us as individuals are equipped with information, with knowledge to prevent this from happening, not only to ourselves, but also to our loved ones. So I hope this is the first of many where we can share with many people of how we can prevent these situations from happening. So John Paul has over 25 years experience in public safety, as well as a very accomplished martial artist. But this public safety seminar is about self-awareness and situational awareness. So I'll speak some Chinese now. 各位朋友大家好，我是加州周玉元成立的，我是特别要谢谢华兴保险Kenny Cheng 大哥，Kenny Cheng 老板和 Angela Cheng 我们的 Chief Strategy Officer of KCAL Insurance 来帮我们 host 这个 seminar。这个 seminar 其实是因为这个亚裔的这个 hate crime 最近都一直在往上增加。那其实发生的时候，其实我心里的确是非常难过，因为每一次我看到新闻的时候，我看到不是看到我们其中亚裔社区的一个朋友，但是我看到我的妈妈、我的奶奶、我的爷爷被打。我看到这些东西，因为我觉得大部分的亚裔被欺负、被打的都是年纪比较大的，跟他们是看到一个机会来欺负我们亚裔的社区的人。那我觉得我们常常会看到从外看到，法案啊，警察来救我们。那坦白讲，常常他们被打的时候，过几秒钟，打的这个人已经就走了。你马上打给警察，也是最快也是几分钟他们才会过来。所以我们最好的方法来避免我们被人欺负、被打，是我们要给我们个人一些 knowledge、一些资料、一些 expertise 来确定我们有这个information 来避免这种东西来发生。所以我们请华兴保险和 Kenny 确定他们的顾客有最好的方法来避免这种 agent hate crime。我们请最好的 public safety officer 有25年的 experience， 以前是 police chief John Paul 来跟我们讲来怎么避免这些东西。那我要谢谢华兴保险，谢谢 Angela Cheng， 谢谢 Kenny Cheng 来帮我们 host 这个 seminar， 为我们亚裔社区做很多的outreach 跟 public safety。只要我个人可以做什么样的帮忙，随时都可以打给我。像我所说的，我是代表55选区的加州州议员，但是我最主要是我要确定我是个跟亚裔社区。我的私人手机是909-714-0578 909-714-0578，我会放在chat 里面。假如你需要什么，24小时都可以打给我。谢谢大家，谢谢华兴保险，谢谢 Kenny Cheng。Now I'll leave it back to the seminar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Assemblyman Phillip Chen. Thank you so much for helping us put this wonderful event together. And now I'd like to introduce our main speaker for today's webinar, John Paul, who's the owner of DOS Global Private Investigations, a full-service investigations firm and security consultancy. He has over 20 years of experience as a former police officer and detective with the Long Beach Police Department. Hey, John Paul.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
So thank you for having me. I'll just get right into my presentation. So for me, I am Filipino. I'm an immigrant. I came here at 13 years old to study. I live in LA County. I have a wife and 2 kids. And as was mentioned, I have over 25 years law enforcement experience in everything from patrol as a police officer in Long Beach Police Department, a detective. But I also took every single training class I could on weapons, self-defense, crimes, investigations. And when I finally became a police chief at my other department before I retired, I was able to integrate a lot of these strategies. Now, what I'm going to teach you today is the same thing I use for my own family. This isn't just something that I give to clients. This is what I actually do for my loved ones, you know, my parents when they're alive, my relatives, my children. And, you know, we're addressing the current problem of anti-Asian violence in the US. Now, if we look at the problem, it's always been here, but for several reasons, lately, it's become more exposed in the media. So we're here as a community to help community members to actually learn how to respond themselves to lessen the frequency of this. So the most important thing is really your mindset, you know, your state of mind. How do you think? As Asian Americans, we tend to have a certain stereotype that we sort of stick to ourselves, we mind our own business, and we live our lives more or less, I don't want to say oblivious, but we tend to just say we don't get involved in politics much, we don't get involved in other issues, we just work hard because we're concentrating on our family and our future. So with that being said, it's sort of a double-edged sword. When we stay to ourselves, sometimes we don't notice and we don't talk about some things that we see in the community, like obvious dangers, maybe certain situations that are awkward. And maybe we tend to alienate certain parts, rightfully or wrongly, other parts of our community that tend to see us as, since we're not always interacting with them, they see us as potentially, not being friendly to them. We know that's not true, but it is a perception sometimes. So part of the disadvantage is you don't get to know some of your neighbors, and many times they see that as almost a sign of weakness also. So they might see you with certain bad elements as a more vulnerable population because you don't interact with them. So they're like, okay, they're not going to call the police anyway. So first thing is to suggest interacting with the people you live with in your neighborhood, your next door neighbor. Get to know the environment. And that serves several functions. One is it always allows you to know what's happening, who belongs, who actually stays there, who are the friends of these people, who comes and goes. So when you see something that stays out of place, then you can either inform law enforcement or address it, talk to your neighbor and see if that in fact is something that's unusual or it's something that needs to be addressed and reported to law enforcement. One of the other things about our mindset as Asian Americans is we tend to really depend on the government for our safety. And rightfully so, we work hard, we pay our taxes, and we do our job. And we believe, if we do our part of being a good citizen, why can't the police and the government protect us? As you've seen in recent events and also historically, no matter how many resources we have, the government cannot be everywhere. And certainly in this time of defund the police and some of the political fashions that we have, there's just not enough resources. And frankly, as the Assemblyman said, Mr. Phillip Chen, he said, when attacks happen, they happen so fast that even if you call the police, they couldn't get there in time. So unless you have a policeman with you 24/7, it's literally impossible unless you take responsibility for your own mindset. Now, let's address, what does security mindset mean? It's not something you buy and put away. It's not a one-time effort. It's not a one-time purchase. Okay, you can't buy it. It's a little bit like your physical health. You brush your teeth, you eat right, you exercise. It requires regular review, regular periodic practice to make it part of your mindset. So what is this mindset? So the first thing is you need to do an assessment of your daily living. Look at yourself as an individual. Like myself, I'm the father, but I'm the head of the household. My wife and I, we practice this with our children. So what are the priorities? First thing is, how secure is your home? Is it easy to break into? Is there adequate lighting? Do you have an alarm system? Do you have procedures for all family members that come and go in your house to lock the door, to turn on the alarm? What are your agreements and procedures for when they have friends over, people that visit? Where do they park? Does everybody know where people are going? In your daily life, you need to know, okay, where am I most vulnerable? So if you've taken care of the home, the next thing you should be thinking about is, what do I do during the day that I need to plan for? So for my children, when they were in school, I knew that we had to leave the house at 7, drive them to school, keep them in school till 3, go pick them up, take them to sports practice, maybe take them to the doctor, who knows? At work, the same thing. Do you need to stop for gas before going to work? What time do you leave the house? Where do you park? Everything in between is also something to be thinking about. When do you have to go shopping? When do you need to go to the bank? these are all activities that you need to plan for. So the basic mindset is, I would like to be secure in my person, to live my life peacefully, and I need to look at what are my daily activities. And so it's rather simple what you need to do. People never actually implement this, in the sense that you need to think, okay, I wake up in the morning. When do I unlock the door and leave to go to the doctor, to go to work, to go to school? When I'm there, what do I do to make sure that when I park my car and I walk to the store to do my shopping, or I walk into the school, what if I get attacked? If you look at a lot of these attacks against Asian Americans, they look completely random, out of nowhere. Okay, so however temporary or brief these periods of leaving your home and going to places are, you need to have the mindset that if something were to happen to me when I was on my way to an activity or at an activity, what would I do? That mindset allows you to plan and to be aware of some of the potential actions you could take in response to an attack, a random attack. So the first thing is, since you have this mindset, and I'm making you think about where in your life you need to secure yourself and some of the activities you conduct, you need to think. So I'll give you some examples. We all have to go to the grocery to buy food. Try to go during the daytime and try to park as near as possible to the grocery store. And when you have a lot of groceries, ask them to help you to bring them to the car. Okay, so you at least have someone with you. If you have a choice and they don't have any employees to help you, try to do your shopping with a family member or a friend. Travel in groups, right? Don't go late at night. When ordering packages or things that you need in your home, try to get them delivered to a secure location. If you've got a large enough mailbox or a large enough secure area where they deliver packages. If that's not an option, try to have it delivered to, let's say, an Amazon locker location, which is always secured, and you can choose what time of day you go. The idea is, think about where you are most vulnerable. I'll take an example of an elderly couple living by themselves, and they'll go to church, they'll go do shopping, they'll go visit friends and family. If you're going to walk around, try to do it during daylight hours if you can. If you must travel in the evening, make sure you travel with a friend. Make sure you tell people where you're going to be. And make sure if something does happen, you have a plan to respond. So for example, you go on your evening walk at 5 o'clock, and you and your wife are going to go out and walk around the park because that's when somebody gets home and you want to walk with them. Make sure that when you're walking, try to avoid areas where there's no lighting. Try to avoid being isolated from other people. If the inevitable happens and you are attacked and you have to defend yourself, understand and perhaps take responsibility by learning a little bit of self-defense, maybe learning first aid and CPR. You are your best friend when it comes to responding and protecting yourself and your family. Everything I've said right now in terms of your awareness and your planning requires actually going through what your particular circumstances are. So I'll give you an example of what needs to happen. If you have a plan for securing your home, everybody who lives in that home must agree and implement that plan. So if you get an alarm for your house, make sure everybody knows how to use it. Everybody knows the codes. Make sure you have an agreement. Let's say if they have friends over, who sleeps over, who stays, do you keep the alarm on? Do you make sure your guests, don't trip the alarm inadvertently? Discuss likely scenarios. What would happen? Let's say if, mom or dad were attacked and you needed to call 911. Let's say they were away from home. Who would respond to them? You need to make yourself less vulnerable as a target. So that means, as I mentioned before, an alarm, perhaps getting some cameras for your home, maybe reinforcing some locks in your house. I already talked about planning your activities to minimize vulnerability. If you have to take a trip somewhere and you need to drive, Make sure people know where you're going so that other people can respond if something happens to you. Plan, of course, if you can always travel with a friend or family member. Make sure you have a full tank of gas so that you don't have to stop in the middle and very late at night in a bad area to fill your tank. A lot of it is just planning, okay? Some of the resources that we have available to us. You know, I live in the city of LA, in LA County, and in the city of LA, there's a lot of free resources from the police department. In San Gabriel Valley, the sheriff's has a lot of programs that can help you create a community watch program. They've got community associations that give free self-defense seminars for women and men and the vulnerable. The police can help coordinate a lot of these efforts, teach you and organize a neighborhood watch. They can garner resources from local businesses. I know that in certain areas of LA, because the police response time, you know, is slow and they need more high touch service, the business improvement districts of certain areas have hired private security to handle the transients, the homeless, some of the annoyance complaints, so they don't have to take resources away from, you know, the police departments, and they can handle it on their own. A lot of this is down to the individual. Once you decide to be safe and to be aware, I'd like you to practice every day and look around you. I'll give you an example. You know, when my grandfather was still alive, he would go to the bank, but he always brought, you know, a friend with him or a family member to travel, and he always made sure to go in the morning. So he would get there at 10 o'clock in the morning. He would have a clear plan of what he needed to do to go to the bank, and he had always communicated with all the rest of us that, you know, he's going to be at the bank from 10 a.m. to 11. He's going to go to lunch and he'd head right home. If we didn't hear from him, we would call his cell phone. We would find out. Make sure people know where you are. Make sure people know where to expect you. Some of the things you can do as a temporary stopgap. I know people have bought pepper spray, which you can legally carry and buy. You can also, in some circumstances, purchase a defensive taser. You can get self-defense lessons. And of course, you know, for your home and where appropriate, you can get training and proper management and handling of a firearm. So all of those options are open to you. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is essentially, I would like you to practice every day to evaluate your daily life and where you are most vulnerable. Point of emphasis is you're always most vulnerable in transition, walking between a building and your vehicle, walking from your home to the bus stop, taking public transport, when you leave a store, heading back to your transportation or walking back to your home. Criminals always like to look at you when you're busy with your hands, when you're thinking about something else. I know a lot of us exercise, and some of us exercise in the evening, and we like to put headphones on. Well, the headphones are very convenient, but when you're in a public place and exercising, you won't be able to hear what's around you, and you don't know when someone's coming up to attack you. It distracts you. Your cell phone, please don't use your cell phone when you're in a vulnerable area. Try to be in a safe spot, sit down, you know, and use your phone. But if you're using your phone while you're walking, you're vulnerable, and the cell phone itself can be attractive. Every single one of us has a different circumstance, and I'd like everybody to practice to see, okay, where am I most vulnerable? Where can I improve my response? Am I leaving my home open at night or vulnerable because I need to make allowances for my son and his friends, or my daughter and their friends, to come out and visit? Well, you can create a plan that allows you to have your alarm and still have security if you coordinate with each other. So that's all I have. If anybody has questions, I'm here. I will stay as long as it takes to answer any questions.
Oh, okay. So we did receive a question from a viewer. Is it? I'm gonna
Sure.
ask it. So his question is: recently, I visited a gun shop in Lake Forest where there was many people waiting in line to buy a gun. Looks like everyone today doesn't really feel safe. Is it a good idea to carry a gun with the CCW certificate? It's not difficult in Orange County to have a CCW certificate. Can I shoot if I were attached?
Attacked, you mean?
Attacked.
Okay. If he's attached, it doesn't matter. If he was attacked, yeah. So obviously, I would emphasize getting training, because you need training in not only the proper function, the proper use, but you also need the legality. So without any other, details, in California, you are allowed to defend yourself. In the US, the Constitution allows you to defend yourself if you are in danger of grave bodily harm or death. So just because someone is mad at you or something more minor, that's not an excuse to shoot him. So this is why you need to go through the training class. The training class will tell you some of these scenarios. I would suggest if you do that, not only be thoroughly trained in the legalities as part of that training class, but also purchase what's called CCW insurance. I don't know if you might have an agreement with them, but USCCA, Carry Guard, it's prepaid insurance for legal defense. So you have a lawyer, you'll have an investigator, you'll have a bail bondsman ready in case you get into legal trouble. But again, the training is the most important because it doesn't just teach you how to shoot, it teaches you when to shoot and when's appropriate and legal.
Hi, John Paul.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, so first question. So one mom, she asked, because right now it's very often, especially for our Asians, walking in the street, say very mean things or some like racist things, words to us. In this occasion, when that happens, they should their phone and record what they're doing, what they're saying to them, so that later on, or it will be make them more mad or more tense for the kids.
Okay, so I understand the question more or less. If you could write it so I could see it, but basically from what I understand is if as you're walking by, you get racist remarks and people are saying things, believe me, it's never a bad idea to call the police for harassment, because what happens is they can come out and they can identify these people, they can contact them. And what happens is they put them in a database, right? Even if it's just a contact, they're not arrested. And when they make contact, then they can see maybe this guy has warrants for arrest for some other charges. Perhaps they are still pending another crime, and so this would be another violation, right, for them. There's all sorts of legal means by which the police can use your reporting of this behavior. So the good thing is it's never wasted. Don't ever hesitate to call the police, even for the most minor thing, because at the very least you've documented it and you could help another investigation, and perhaps it would be a violation of conditions of his probation, of his parole. You never know. Everything is useful. So go ahead and call the police, but of course the priority is keep yourself in a safe position. Don't confront them if you don't have to. Avoid them if you can.
But like for example, if I record them what they said, those like very mean, make them very mad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't recommend recording
or
them
make myself
with
in
their knowledge.
danger.
Yeah, again, I don't recommend recording them and letting them know. You can record them discreetly, and then you can provide that as evidence later on. But it's always a good idea
Okay.
not to agitate them. Don't do it so they know what you're doing. You can record them, but don't make it obvious. Because if you make it obvious, it's an excuse, right? It's an excuse. You don't want to give them an excuse to get more mad. So you can record them, but I don't recommend recording them openly. That's not going to do anything except like make them mad. Record them, but don't make them know.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have another question. It's my own question. So I bought a few like pepper spray. So my question is, in what occasion like should I use pepper spray? And maybe point at me or just threaten me, but I also have it ready. I just spray him and try to run. So questions when and how to use pepper spray.
So I have a lot of personal experience with pepper spray. You really should only use pepper spray when they attack you, right? So if someone's assaulting you physically, trying to hurt you, you can use pepper spray. The problem with pepper spray is it doesn't work very well. It's very effective. For people that can handle a lot of very spicy food, it's not effective at all. So I'd be very careful not to think of it as a, you know, as a powerful, as a magic weapon. It doesn't work that well. And in fact, you might be affected because it gets on everything.
Okay, thank you so much. We do have another question. They said,
Sure.
what is the best way to respond when someone says racial slurs towards you? Usually it feels rather discouraging to just ignore them.
I understand, but it's the right thing. Even if you had the ability to respond, legally, it's not a crime to say things like that unless they're challenging you to a fight, in which case your best bet, it's always going to look bad, right? So your best bet is to ignore and notify the police, especially if they keep following you and harassing you, right? But that's the only way. I mean, especially if you're a business owner, if you have something to lose, if you're an upstanding citizen, getting into a fight with somebody who's just yelling racial slurs, they have nothing to lose.
Okay.
Normal, decent people with a regular life don't do those kind of things. Because they only do that because they know they have nothing to lose. They've probably already been to jail, or they just don't care. So
Okay. So what about for like small business owners? How would you say it's the best way to respond for something like this? Because like they do represent
so
their business.
So are they coming into the store? Give me a specific. I don't understand the specific question.
Maybe like possibly maybe they're like like a restaurant or something, and then someone comes into your restaurant and they start calling you names and things like that, or they don't pay.
Have someone call the police. Okay. Have someone else record. Okay. Protect yourselves. Don't be victims, but make sure the police are on their way, because now it's different because they're interrupting business now, right? They're inside. I'm not saying fight him, even if you know kung fu, right? Because he might have a knife or a gun and you don't know. But you need to you need to look like the good guy if something goes down. The one thing about criminals that they're very good at is they understand how to use the police. So if you understand the concept of a setup, they could be setting you up for a big lawsuit, right? So make sure you're not getting hurt. Protect yourself, number one. Two, make sure you're a professional. Three, make sure this is all simultaneous, okay? This is not in order. So simultaneously, you can have one guy calling the police, another guy talking, trying to calm the guy down, a third guy recording it. And now you look like the good guy because you called the police, you have video, and you were professional. But you didn't let yourself get hurt, right? If you're that same person, you're only one guy in the business, you should be dialing 911 while this is going down. So one of the other things you can do as a business owner, let's say I own a boba shop in San Gabriel, right? And you have people coming in saying racial slurs. I should be good friends with the lead officer or the patrol officer of that beat to tell him to, hey, can you check in once in a while? Because we had some people come by, and be ready on speed dial to call the police department, because now you're communicating with the police and they know there's a problem. They're going to be there and they're going to respond. And so they know you're not just yelling and panicking. You've given them a historical basis of information. You've informed them that this happened in the past. So they're more likely to respond and take action appropriately for you. Right? So that's the thing. Don't be hurt. Call the police and always act professionally.
Great. Okay. Thank you. We do have another question from another client. So they said, like, because recently, we've heard about a lot of those robberies during gas stations, and just, getting gas is a really quick thing. You're just there. But then maybe like right before you enter your car, like somebody steals your purse or steals your wallet or something like that. And yeah. So do you have any tips about like what to do when getting gas?
Okay. So that really only happens in. I'll just talk about the San Gabriel Valley. Let's talk about Orange County. There are lots of small gas stations, right? So what I would like to do when I get gas, I literally have my payment card in one pocket. I don't bring my whole purse, and I don't keep my purse in the front or my bag with my wallet. I don't leave it in the front seat. I have my payment card only in the hand, and I lock my car doors. I only open the one that I'm getting out of. And before I stop, I look at the gas station to see who's standing around. You see who else is there in terms of cars. You see any homeless that are waiting on the edges to ask for money. And you see who else could be approaching you. And then when I go out to put gas, I put my payment card. I'm still looking. I punch in my zip code. I put fuel in my car, and I get back in the front seat and I lock the door. I wait for it to finish. Then I look around. If no one's there, I immediately put the gas pump back. I get my receipt and go. If it's an emergency and someone starts attacking me, the hose is in my car, I can start the car and drive away. The hose will break and gas will not pump everywhere. There's an automatic shutoff, right? If they're starting to break your windows or try to kill you, you can drive away and it's not going to hurt your car. It's just going to break the hose. Okay?
Okay.
But what happens is most people, they dilly-dally around. They don't know what card. They hold their whole purse. They have everything unlocked. And then it takes them forever to put their credit card in. Then they look like victims.
Okay. Got it. Okay. I think we have another question. I think
Sure.
they're still typing it out. Give us a few seconds.
Happy to help.
Okay. Oh, and a quick one is, do you think it's like a good idea to have your windows tinted? Because it kind of like
let me tell you, I'm not giving you legal advice. You can tint your windows in California, the back windows and the rear window. The front windows are not supposed to be tinted, but I think there's an exception for medical. The reason why I like tinted windows, and I also use a sunshade. In fact, I'm talking to you from my car right now with my sunshade, is because people cannot see what's in your car. And if they can't see what's in your car, they don't know which car to break into to get good stuff. But the other thing is, you shouldn't keep anything in your car you're not willing to lose. So don't leave anything overnight that you couldn't bring inside the house or your hotel because it's vulnerable. So I know it's a pain, but it's important.
Yeah, very true.
I know it's mafan, right? Very mafan, you know?
Oh, 1 second. Oh, okay. We do have another question. What are like some characteristics that you can use to help identify a bad guy? I guess it's like from their appearance, or is it what can we?
First of all, you need to listen to your instincts. Okay. Little children can tell very quickly, mostly. Just don't be afraid. And I'll say this, it's not profiling, okay? But you can tell a certain vibe from a person, whether they're mentally ill, whether they're unstable or angry, just by the way they move, by the way they look, by their stance. You can do whatever you want. You're a private citizen, okay? If it doesn't look right, don't get close to them. Go to another gas station. Go to another store. This is the only place where you can get gas? It's the only place where you can get food? Is this the only place you can go to the bank? No, you live in Southern California. There's thousands of options, right? If something doesn't look right, avoid it.
So I still have a question. It's from like Chinese restaurant. It's a small business owner.
Sure.
So he complained because under the bill like 47, those people won't get punished if the amount they steal or robbery it's under $950. So for example, he had met people like just walking into his restaurant, order a lot of food, like maybe $200 or $300, but after the meal, he just walked away. And his question is like, he will call the police, but while waiting for the police, should he like confront him or try to stop him from leaving?
So one of the smartest ways, if he knows this happens, first of all, he needs to communicate. What city is he in?
San Gabriel Valley.
I know. What city? City of San Gabriel?
It's
Temple
close
City.
to Roland High and Lampunti.
Okay, so he's in the sheriff's area, basically.
Yeah.
Can you ask him? Does the sheriff come or is it a police department? Can you ask him?
I'm not sure. He sent the question before, like with the email.
Okay, so
yeah.
yeah, you need to work with the local, the deputy that's assigned to that area, and talk to a supervisor and tell them, look, this is my problem, right? I have a lot of people coming in, they will order food and then just leave. So a couple of things he can do is essentially, hopefully he has video, right, inside his restaurant. So he has at least a photo of the guy. And even if they don't get charged, or they get charged only a citation, eventually all of those things become warrants. And when they become warrants, they eventually go to jail. So if you do it enough times, there's no such thing as no punishment. Even a ticket can end you up in jail. So even if these people are ticketed and released, if they don't handle it, they go to jail. So it's never wasted. So he should work with the sheriff's department if that's in his area, or if he's in a particular city like Azusa, or one of the other cities, then absolutely work with that police department. They will teach you, report it to us, take video, upgrade your video system so you can see a video of the guy and you can identify him. Because nothing is wasted. When the police put handcuffs on a guy or give him a citation, it always turns into something eventually. It's just sometimes a little slow, and given the budgets and what we have, that's what happens.
Okay, thank you. So one more question, it's about in California, like
Yes.
the level of self-protection. Like, for example, like sometimes we got harassed by like some people, like, but they're not that violent. So we attack back to protect ourselves. So if we attack back like too hard, if we injure them, will we have any liability?
Well, first of all, it's America.
Yeah.
So anybody can get sued, especially California. So again, it's always good to appear like you're in the right. So I would always say, try to avoid confrontation. But if they leave you in a position where you have no choice, then you need to defend yourself. But I would not seek a fist fight, or a martial arts fight for no reason. It doesn't make sense, because even if you win, you lose. Because they decide to press charges against you, you get sued, you sue them. I mean, it's time, it's money, it's resources, right?
Yeah, like for example, if
worth it?
someone, yeah, like some people, if they have a gun, and in that situation, if they use a gun to do self-defense.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're trying to kill you, you can use your gun, but you cannot use a gun just because
he's harassing you.
insulting you.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you cannot. And you cannot even wave your gun at them unless they're threatening you to, in a grave, serious way. Where, let's say, there's 10 of them and they're surrounding you. Okay. Or there's one guy and he has a big knife and he's coming at you. Something like that. Something very clear. Right. This is why training is so important. Without training, I cannot give you a definitive answer, because it depends on the situation.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I think we don't have any further questions. Is there any last things you want to say to our audience?
No, thank you very much. Normally, I provide a consulting service for families that want to have a comprehensive plan. We sit down, we look at your situation, we talk about your concerns, and we draw out an actual strategy for mom, dad, the children, grandkids, whatever, and we create a plan. So if you're interested in that, obviously, you can contact me via the information provided by KCAL. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Does that also include businesses or companies, or only for families usually?
Everything.
Oh,
So
everything.
I consult with large corporations, small businesses, whatever.
Oh, great. Okay then. Okay. Thank you so much, John Paul. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
And thank you everybody for attending our webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We're going to share our social media at the end. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.